All right, so go-kart project here. So this will apply to many different types of engines, but a couple things. Just whenever you have a go-kart that's homemade, usually there's some things that are kind of like, I don't want to say cobbled, but they're kind of put together with what you have, and you kind of just make it work. So this fuel line setup, this isn't the way it was originally set up. I think this clear hose was actually, must have been heated up and it was pushed over top of the valve, and then on top here was kind of the same type of thing. And the reason for that was because there's actually a piece that's missing off the carburetor here, and once I get this apart I'll show you. But it should have this, and if you see this plastic barbed part here, that actually would work with this black colored fuel line here, which it says fuel rated right on it, where this clear vinyl hose is not fuel rated. So what happened was, when the kids were riding it, the original clear hose, actually cracked because it dried out because it's not rated for fuel and started to leak. So then when I tried to put it back together, I just got some hose that was like the normal size, whatever this is. I don't know if this is quarter or I don't even know. I'd be lying if I tell you if I know what it actually was. Well, anyway, got some holes like this, and it fit on the valve just fine, but then on the carburetor, when I took that apart, I was like, well, what the heck is going on here? So after some YouTube videos and different resources, I found that it's actually missing this plastic, the plastic barbed part, and I guess that breaks off, barbed part, it breaks off of not only this type of engine, but I think Briggs and Stratton may use the same type of setup. Who knows, they may even use the same type of carburetor. So this is what we need to do. Now I guess the trick is that this part here though is pressed into the carburetor. So we got to get that out of there, so we'll have to figure out an ingenious way to get that thing out of there. Okay, so this is actually take 2. You didn't see take 1 because we're not going to include that. We're going to edit that right out. So what I'm going to try here is, I drilled this out a little bit because this is the type of screw that I have. This looks like it would cut its own threads just based on the way it looks there. I don't know if you can see it. Probably not. Maybe if I bring it closer. Maybe. Yeah, you can see there's just, it looks like it'll cut some threads. So I opened up this hole a little bit with a drill. I got a 1/2-inch socket that I'm going to stick over top. That is a quarter drive I'm using, and hopefully there's enough space in there that we can get this to pull out. So the idea is that we run this in, and then we use this nut as like a puller against this socket, and that should pull this out. I guess the correct way of doing this is to take the carburetor off, and then you actually heat this up to pull this out. If you try to just pull this out, you'll actually crack the carburetor, I guess. At least that's what everybody says. I didn't attempt to do that because I don't want to crack the carburetor. So we'll see if this works. I don't know if I'm gonna have this pretty straight or not. I also thought about maybe trying to put like a easy out in there and trying to unthread that, but it's a pressed in fitting, so I don't think that would work. That didn't seem to work either. Maybe I should try cutting the threads without the socket on there first. Don't have a whole lot of room here either, the way this go-kart's designed. It's not meant to get in there and do this. I think once we get those threads cut, we should be in business. Oh, look at that. That is wonderful. That is threading right in. Okay, so that hopefully will work. Now, those threads that you're cutting have to hold the amount of pressure you're putting on this nut here for pulling it out. So I'm gonna take this out again. There's a good 1/2 a thread started in there, right? Oh, look at that. I can see threads in there. That is, I'm not gonna say amazing, but that's pretty good. That's what we're looking for. So we're gonna do this again, put our socket back on there. Hopefully we can restart this in those same threads. And if we can get those started in there, then we should be able to, yeah, good deal. All right, so let's get this going here again. In the long run, I don't know, it might be just quicker to take the carburetor off. If you have access to the carburetor like I do here, Looks like you got two flange studs there with a nut, and that's it. And some linkages, and you can get that off pretty easily. But I suppose you might have to disassemble the entire carburetor too, just because otherwise you may end up, oops, I got gas all over everything. You may end up melting your innards of your carburetor and stuff. When threading this in then, from what I've read on YouTube, you don't want to go crazy with this. Eventually when it bottoms out, you just kind of stop. I'm going to say that's bottomed out because it seemed like the same amount of force going in the whole way. So now is the moment of truth if this is going to work. Hopefully I got enough threads in there, because if we pull that out, I don't know what I'm going to do. Take the carburetor off, I guess. So now we're going to use our 7/16 here and just kind of slowly, hopefully, get this to pop out. I don't know if that was the screw popping or the part of that plastic nipple coming out. Definitely getting some torque on it now. I think the threads are just pulling out. I hope they're not. It's kind of the way it feels. It feels like I'm just pulling the threads out of that piece. It doesn't look like, yeah, doesn't feel like it's doing what it should be doing. They always make it look easy on YouTube. Oh, yeah, it pulled out. All right, so I guess it is as easy as what they make it be. It's not that difficult at all. So there you go. That's what that end looks like, and that, like I said, that's just pressed in. I did try to take it and work it back and forth, but like I said, I guess that ends up breaking your carburetor from what people have said. So there's the piece. I probably could back this off, see if we could take a look at that. That's amazing. It didn't seem like, it honestly felt like I was just wrecking the threads on that. I didn't think it was actually pulling it out, because it actually didn't take much torque at all, and there was a little bit of a crack sound, which I kind of thought was probably the threads just pulling out of that. I don't know. I think if you get yourself a decent self-tapping machine screw, if there is such a thing, whatever this is, it's like machine threads with a self-tap on the end. There it is. You can see it actually cut, oh no, you can't see anything. It actually cut some pretty decent threads in there to pull this out. So now to put the new one in, from what I've watched and seen, I actually need to take a C-clamp and kind of press it in. So let me get set up for that part. Okay, so I got it just set in there. I'm going to press this thing in. Maybe I'll change the camera angle here. Give me a second. Okay, so that's how it looks. I just have it set in there. That fuel shutoff, I don't believe that that's original to this engine. So what I'm going to do is set it up just the way it looks there, and I'm going to take that fuel shutoff out, and I'm going to move that closer to the tank, I think, so that the line coming from the fuel tank then, which is right there, will just make a straight jog. Just note how close this exhaust is to the fuel line. Like, I feel like that could have been a better design. Must have been an engineer that came up with that one. So let me get the C-clamp set up here, and we'll see if we can press that thing in without breaking off that plastic piece. Alright, so we're going to use a 4-inch Chinese-made C-clamp here, and hopefully get this thing to press itself in without too much issue here. Okay. And it didn't seem like it came out very hard, so it shouldn't go in hopefully that difficult. Probably want to make sure that thing is pretty square though. Looks like it's going. I don't know, I did see somebody talked about when you put these in, you're supposed to put some sort of sealant or something on that. I'm not sure why you need to put a sealant on there if it is a pressed fitting. Like, to me, you shouldn't have to put anything on that. It didn't look like there was anything from the factory. Oh yeah. Boy, that is so scary. You're pressing on a piece of plastic as you're putting that in there. You can, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, I can see it going in here. But boy, you're really torquing that piece of plastic. It looks like it's being deformed as I'm pressing this in there. Yeah, it definitely looks like it's misshapen. It's not in all the way either. At least I don't think it is. I don't know. I'm really nervous. I don't want to break this off and have to start all over again, because I don't have another one of these little fittings here. It definitely is misforming, but it goes. You really gotta torque the thing in there. Alright, I am gonna call that good, because it doesn't look like it's going in any further. It looks like it's in all the way, and the plastic was definitely being squished. So, and the other thing to note is that fuel valve, or this little shutoff here, does a great job of not completely shutting off the fuel anyway. There's always like a drip or two that just keeps coming past that. So, but like I said, I'm just going to take that out of there. I'm assuming the issue was that maybe because of the way this is set up with this gravity flow, that maybe this carburetor fills up with gas and it runs out and drips on the floor. So that's probably maybe why this was put in there. So like I said, I'll just move this closer to the fuel tank. But for now, I'm just going to pull that off. That little spring clip there, we'll stick that on the new fitting here, and hopefully we will be on our way here without too many issues or injuries. Okay, so that is what the finished product looks like. You can tell that I cut it kind of crooked, and that was because once I did get that fuel shut off of there, it poured gas like nobody's business. So next time we run out of gas here is when I'm gonna straighten that cut up, because I just don't like the way that looks. And then also I will tie in that new fuel shut off, and we should have more than enough line in here. We can actually probably put it on the backside or wherever, and it'll work out pretty well. So because I believe I just filled this thing up with gas, so that's why I'm not gonna do that now, because we were losing gas quite quickly. So this is a 5-horse Tecumseh that we're working on, but like I said, this was on I think Briggs uses the same stupid cheap design here, but overall this is a pretty nice engine. It starts pretty quickly, runs pretty well. Seems like Tecumseh always had a pretty decent engine. I know they used them on air and snowblowers for a long time. So let's take one final look at what I used to get this thing to this point. Alright, so this was the piece we needed to get out here. Obviously the plastic part was broke off, and this is what I used. So you can kind of tell that there are some, it's like a little bit of, there right there, that it cuts its own threads. So, and I had to drill it out because I didn't have the correct type of, whatever type of fastener this is called. And then I don't even know if this nut is right, but it seemed to thread on here decent. So, and then I used like I said, this is a 1/2-inch quarter drive socket used, and basically what you did is just made yourself a cheap puller to get this out of that carburetor by tapping that screw in, and then when you run that nut, you're pushing this against the carburetor body to pull this out. So basically just like I said, a cheap puller there is what you made yourself to get that thing out, and it's basically just a time saver. Like I said, I'm pretty sure if you heat that up, you could get it out, but you have to take the whole carburetor apart and all your gaskets and stuff so you don't melt anything out of there, but can be done. This is just kind of a shortcut. So alright, it's gonna be it for now.